This is a clip from the Red Cow Arcade podcast.
There's a reason I've got Rocky Sega Master System going in the background for the extra visual interest.
Why
they released the trailer to the Rocky IV Ultimate Director's Recut. It's called Rocky versus Drago. Boom, bitch. What a great title. Rocky IV, I think a lot of people have characterized it as the Rocky movie where things went off the rails. Where there was the first one, which was like an art film. There's a second one, which was a logical continuation of that story. There's a third one where things started to get weird with Mr. T and stuff. It still felt like a continuation of the original. It's like, what happens when this guy becomes champ? But the fourth one was when it became more like a superhero movie and less like an art indie film. And I accept that. And then it's very affected by its time. It's Cold War, So, and the biggest criticism of the movie, of course, is that it's like 70% montage. Like there's very little dialogue in it. Stallone has addressed that criticism. He's like, well, of course, I made 3 movies with a lot of dialogue. So I said, what? He wanted to make something that was more visually interesting. He directed it. Of course, he directed all of them except for 1 and 5 and the Creeds. So this recut is going back to the raw footage and re-editing the movie. Like, not like, oh, I've always wanted to tweak that. It's not Rocky IV Special Edition. It's Rocky IV Do It Over Again. Which means, like, and this guy has remained active. He continues to direct movies frequently, and he's a hell of a filmmaker.
Nice.
Stallone.
Talented guy.
So he knows what he's doing. And something must be compelling him back to that footage. Now, like in the trailer, they were like, it's the rated the best boxing match in cinema history or something. And it's like, I think that's fair. It's a epic goddamn boxing fight. It's as good as any superhero action scene I've ever seen. And there's, my God, Tony, the corner guy, the ring trainer. His color commentary through the whole thing where he's like, you see, he's not a machine. He's a man. And like all that stuff is so epic. I think that despite it being poppy, Rocky IV has a lot of artistic vision. I think it's like there's a reason that movie, the fourth movie in the Rocky franchise, has endured. It's in a league of its own.
It's definitely, like, I can remember a lot more of that than the other ones, which is sad, but it's true. It's because maybe it is so poppy and it is, I don't know, it's so affecting in that way.
So there's a question of like, why would you, if that's not your worst movie, if even it's a pretty good movie, why would you re-edit it? Why not re-edit Rocky V is like the big question. I don't know exactly, but as a fan, as a huge fan, as a lifelong fan, I think it's wonderful. I'm really excited it's not going to erase the first one. I'll always get to go back to the first one. He's not pulling a Lucas and yanking them off shelves or anything. But I love the artistic experiment of
that's annoying. It's still annoying. I can't like watch those on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's absurd. But 40 years later, the guy hasn't stopped making movies. He's almost 80. And he's like, well, what if I were to do it again? And and the trailer is so compelling because you can kind of tell what he's doing differently. For one thing, I think that the original edit didn't properly emphasize Rocky's kind of guilt, complicity in the death of Apollo, because the death of Apollo is the catalyst for the rest of the movie. It's quite a dramatic turn. It's like the movie has like a stupid robot in it, and it's got James Brown living in America. It's kind of like a goofy movie until this dude kills Apollo, and then the complexion of the movie completely changes. It's a really cool narrative trick, but they didn't really like hammer home the idea that he felt guilty, that he could have saved Apollo, that he could have made a quicker decision. He could have been more decisive. It's clear that they're going to kind of like pivot on that more. That there's more that was written and that was shot that will bolster that. Of course, I've heard him say he's getting rid of the robot. He's always wanted to get rid of the robot. Apparently he's had disputes with he got the robot idea from like some pizza place he went to that had a robot like that. And he's like, I'm going to put that in a movie. And he's had like financial issues with like the pizza place with the robot. Very, very strange. But yeah, like I think he probably will de-emphasize the montage thing now that he kind of that's done very thoroughly in the first version of the movie. There is a question of like, will you change the soundtrack? Because the soundtrack's damn iconic at this point, with Eye of the Tiger, with Burning Heart, with Hearts on Fire. They don't play the Rocky theme, the main theme there. They do in the trailer. They play an epic orchestral version of it that just makes your blood pump. The other funny thing is it's cool to see a trailer to something that like they can go ahead and say like, yes, apologize in the movie. Like you can allow all the spoilers, right up until the end of the movie. Although I bet you, I don't know this for a fact. I bet you if you went back and watched the original Rocky IV trailer, I bet you they just went ahead and spoiled it. I bet they were like,
they used to do it all the time.
His best friend died. Like, hey.
From the Russian brute.
It was all fun and games with James Brown when Apollo was killed by fists. Like, okay, can I get half my money back?
He could have saved his best friend's life.
I'll never forget you, Apollo.
But now, the one thing he can't do is walk away.
Well, it's like that thing where if the group that was spoiled the ending, like of the story they're reading, and a group that wasn't spoiled, like the people who had the ending spoiled actually enjoyed the book more or whatever.
Yeah, I can see that. Because when your brain isn't preoccupied with what will happen, you can, I think, receive the story more clearly. That's why sometimes like second viewings are more enjoyable.
Yeah. And but spoiler culture here, where everyone gets like, I don't know, gets absurd. Well,
because it is kind of like finding out for the first time what happens while watching it live is kind of like the frosting of the thing. It is kind of like the one thing that it's like the one magic trick you still have, maybe.
Yeah. Especially as narratives are turning into like, I don't know, The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, where they're just nothing. All you have is the frosting.
Right. Yeah, where you might even be tricked into thinking it was good if you only watch it one time. If you watch it twice, you'll know for sure it sucks, just like Marshall Lucas says. Anyway, I'm very, 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 very excited about Rocky IV. I'm so excited about it. I got to make content about it, but how? What could rise to the occasion of the Rocky IV recut? I guess I'll just talk about it here on the podcast. You'll have to listen to the podcast.
You'll make a clip. Are you gonna? Is it gonna be in theaters? Is that?
I heard it will. Yeah, actually, I think I saw that. I'm good. I don't need to go to I'm like pretty against movie theaters at this point.
How are you gonna do? You have to buy it somewhere? I guess it'll be.
I'll definitely buy it on Blu-ray, no doubt about it. I want to archive a thing like that. But if they're smart, they'll release both versions of the movie, obviously.
Yeah.
If it's successful, I guess it's kind of like we talked a lot about how the Snyder Cut was this really unique thing, and it was. This feels like it's kind of down that same path.
Yeah.
But of all the filmmakers you could possibly greenlight to be like, yeah, go ahead, like take another shot at it. Rocky IV, they let that happen.
Yeah.
Nobody else gets a chance.
I think it must be so interesting to go through the footage again, like all this time later, 40 years later or whatever.
Yeah. Just tell the story all over again.
That's crazy.
And he must have like if you tasked me with that with one of my films, we didn't shoot enough there's kind of like only one editing path with low budget films. You can try a few things, you can swap a few takes, but
that's probably the luxury of Rocky IV is that it is a huge studio movie at that point.
Yeah.
So you shot.
I think they cut a lot out. I think that's why it's all montage. Is they made a creative decision at some point in the post production of like, maybe we should just go real quiet with the movie and just try to tell everything visually. But they had shot all of this stuff, all this extra dialogue, and now he can master a film around it. It also, I don't know if this will be in the real movie, but in the trailer, they cut to a lot of like black and white flashbacks to some of the other movies, including like flash forwards to like movies that happen in the future. So he has more to play with there too. It feels like it could be kind of like almost like a Rocky retrospective in addition to being a Rocky IV recut. And most importantly, there's no robot, no pizza robot.
The pizza robot that Polly was in love with or whatever.
Happy birthday, Polly. They stopped the whole movie cold to do that scene. I love Polly. They did use some of my favorite takes from the original film. Like, and they were like, where are you fighting? And Rocky goes, it's in Russia. And it cuts to Polly and he goes, oh, you nuts. Oh, you nuts. They should get Burt Young to do Mario's voice. Chris Pratt. Do an all Rocky cast of Mario.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.